And we are recording. So we can start the meeting. Hopefully more people will join. This is an IETF meeting, and the note will apply since we have a new participant today. Yes, so first item on the agenda, something that I forgot to put on, was about the conflicts for the Singapore meeting for CBOR. So me and Jim have started talking about this. We have a couple of working groups that we have added so far. We would like at least our, editors and more active participants to tell us what their conflict is, if they are not already covered. So, Carsten, take a look.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list we have in CBOR. I think it's a really good idea to actually go through this list in interim. I have never had the idea. So that's great. So there we have a current conflict list. So for instance, things like ACE.
If you're seeing the sorry, if you're seeing the Etherpad, you should see what we have added so far, me and Jim.
Yeah, and I'm just bringing up ACE. Oh, okay. So that's already covered from the chair conflict.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a couple of working groups that were there before. When I checked all the working groups that were actually using CBOR before, but I don't know if they're still using CBOR, if they're still interested, if they will still want to participate. And these did not make this list where I'm going to copy paste at the end. SACM DTN dots role.
So one thing to look at is the list of documents that are referencing RFC 8610 and its prerequisites, precursors, or 7049. So data tracker gives you this list of documents that reference something. And that essentially gives you a very, very good overview of who's actually using CBOR.
I did that, if you remember. I did that before, and they're basically those that I am
Good.
quoting. Reference by. Let's see. It was also about, do we take all of the individual document or just the working group document?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's the data tracker information.
But at this point, I think, what I would like for you to look at is take a look at this. Is there anything that you see that you will,
But I have no idea if there will be a web packaging thing, but eventually Jeffrey will prioritize web packaging over what we do, and I think that's also a technology overlap, different from loops.
Okay.
So we have red there, that would be Lawrence's.
We can put it in as well.
Yeah.
Even if it's repeated above.
Yeah, Hank, of course, is red and second.
Good to know. I think Paul is not in this list.
He should be.
and I think he's DNS op.
Yeah, that was the one that stopped him from being around in Montreal.
Time, yeah.
Yeah, true. DTN, Michael. They use CBOR.
Like this below are those that Suncom, DTN, dots, and row were those that were included in the previous, and I don't know how relevant they are anymore. So I just want to check.
Yeah.
Are these still relevant?
But DTN has pretty much completed the version 2 of the bundle protocol.
Okay.
But I think there are some interesting people from the DTN community, like the chair, what's his name? Taylor. Robert Taylor? So that would be a priority 3 thing for me.
Mm-hmm. But DTN, you said it's completed. Are they meeting or?
They have completed their second version bundle protocol. I don't know what's currently on their plate.
Okay.
But the bundle protocol was the one that had the CBDL in it and uses CBOR. And I'm sure they're going to extend this in some way.
Okay. If you don't see anything else, I think we can stop here for now and hopefully get more input. Michael, it's good to get yours as well.
Yeah, one group that we maybe should watch is LPWAN, because they may get into a phase where they actually want to use CBOR, but maybe they are using CBOR through Yang CBOR.
Yeah, this is the conflict, not the, I don't know. We have to make a choice at some point of how many working groups. So yeah, okay. What about dots and role? So Michael, I see that there will be a conflict for you.
Well, I should be going to roll too, so it's a little bit of a conflict for me as well. I have repeatedly not done this, but maybe at some point I should again.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, then we can move on to the next item on the agenda. So it's the CBOR rate tag status. So it's right now in Glasgow, which ends the 5th of September. So I think that's exactly when you're going to be gone on vacation, Carsten.
Right.
And there is only one of the 3 reviews, the general reviews that is done right now. And the one that is done, I think, had no comments at all. So I mean, no issues at all. That's good. Yes, I just wanted to mention this, and we can talk about the CBOR sequence document. The working group last call ended today, and hopefully we said that during last interim that today we would discuss any issue that the working group last call would create. So I saw there is a couple of reviews, and if you want to discuss those, and if there is anything that you need input or you would like to have a clarification of.
What I actually did was I made pull requests for all these comments, I think. Oh, there's one issue left. Oh yeah, the broken formatting. We cannot fix that. It's not a pull request. I'm sorry. So there is a branch that has, where is that?
Maybe you didn't push it.
That would be very typical of me. Let me check that.
It's really weird because I thought I remembered looking at it too.
Or maybe you merged it
I
already.
did it in master. Sorry about that. So there are a number of commits here that are addressing the various comments.
Okay.
And I think they are all straightforward, no-brainer accepts, and we can discuss whether the actual wording that I use is the right one. But I think there's no discussion needed about the actual comments.
Okay, good. So I guess this is a AP on everybody to check this, or the reviewer at least to check that what you wrote is good enough.
Yeah, so traditionally at least Jim and John should at some point say yes, that's addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody else wants to read that, that's great. And
Yes.
I definitely want to submit this on Monday, the latest.
Yeah.
Karsten,
Yes.
as I remember, John sent out a piece of mail really, really recently.
Really, really?
On the 20th? No.
This one?
August 20 or August 24th.
And I wrote some...
August 24th, probably.
24th. I think that was...
That one you did.
That was
Okay.
trivial, but...
I thought I remember seeing one after that, and maybe I didn't. I will have to go find it.
Yeah, if I missed anything, I still would like to know that. So, as chairs, you have to review the mailing list anyway, so please tell me as soon as possible if I missed anything.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
So
we can...
when do you need the submitted version?
Before you leave.
Yeah, but that means
Whenever
if
you
you
want
find
to
something
release.
hidden in there, I can't fix it.
Yes.
I will probably sit down and review stuff either today or tomorrow.
Okay. So I will try to get it submitted on Friday, so we have some time to react to unforeseen things.
Okay,
You
sounds
said
good.
Monday, or?
Say that again?
Maybe I understood and didn't understand correctly that I heard Monday before that you wanted to submit an update.
Yeah, but I think I want to do it on Friday.
Okay.
So maybe you should announce at some point that the task call has passed, that those changes are in the repository. Well, I did this on last Monday, the day before yesterday already. But just announce that it's formally passed.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, sorry about doing that to the master.
Ah, it's fine, it's fine. It's just good to know where they are.
Yeah, but you see, it created confusion for me, so it will have created confusion for others. Good.
Okay. So we can move on to CBOR.
So you have the action point to get the reviewers to look.
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
That's going to be easy because one is Jim and the other is in my office, so I can just poke him.
Okay, so let's go to this. Oh, actually, I have one quick report to make. Well, maybe I could do this in any other business. So it's my slide number 3, which is we have handled the tag 42 issue. The Yang CBOR now says it uses 47, and that's reflected in the INA registry. And the IETF people have actually written up their tag registration. They had done that 2 years ago, but for some reason it got stuck. And it's a nice example that you should make sure that your registrations don't get stuck because somebody will step on your feet. Okay, so I think we demonstrated our flexibility here. Nice. So, CBOR. Paul submitted -07, which is basically just a checkpoint because there was a ton of editorial changes, and when we now start making technical changes again, it's very confusing to have all these editorial changes in a diff. So that's the main reason why there is a -07 out there. And when you review that, the point really was to get the tag terminology right. And I have some more slides about that later. We have one outstanding pull request. That's the negative test vectors, the test vectors that are not well formed. And I must admit that exactly happened what I thought would happen. It's kind of a weird list. It's not quite clear why are things in there or not in there. And I really would feel much more comfortable if we had a good place where we can put a test suite, and then we could make this much more complete than we would make it in a document. So I would prefer not to do this, or to do this in an even less comprehensive way, with maybe 1 or 2 examples per category. So we can point to some repository for the test suite that we think will be stable enough for a decade or half a decade, so people can use that. That would be my proposal for handling this pull request.
That tends to be the way I'd rather go too, simply because it's a lot easier to, it's a lot easier to fix mistakes, and B, if you find you missed a corner case, I don't really want to update the standard to deal with that, but if people think that that is a comprehensive suite, then they won't see it.
Yep.
They won't see that updated.
And I actually wrote a test for the half-length floating point that just includes all the numbers there are, because you can do that for 16-bit space. And we wouldn't do that in RFC, but we can easily do that on the test suite in the repository. So I think it would be a good idea to really do this test suite thing. And this means that we actually have to do task number 16 that's in the issues list now. Yeah, Lawrence is conveniently not there. So we probably have to take this to the list. Okay, so much about the pull requests. On the issues, as I said, the main item was the tag terminology update for -07. That's issue number 85. I haven't closed that yet because I think this still needs review whether we correctly did this. So basically, the idea is to uh, make it more clear that we have three kinds of containers in CBOR. We have arrays and maps, obviously, and we have tags, which is a very special container, which just combines a tag number and an enclosed item. So when we talk about arrays, we have a word for the things that go into arrays. These are elements. And when we talk about maps, we can say member or key value pair. And we didn't really have a great term for the thing that goes into a tag. Why we said tagged item, but then also the whole thing is a tagged item. So this is this can be very confusing. So we now say enclosed item. And I think this requires one more round of going through the text and making sure we hit everything. But I think the direction is pretty clear, and I haven't heard anyone disagreeing with the direction yet. So the next terminology issue that I think we need to fix is the well-formed versus valid situation. I think we have a pretty good handle on the well-formedness issue. I haven't done a full reread yet on that issue, but I think we're pretty much done with that. What we haven't really done very well is talk about validity and how this is both a CBOR concept and an application concept. And I think what we really need is some better terminology that separates the kinds of validity here. So there is some basic CBOR validity, but there are also application aspects that enter basic CBOR validity. So if you are talking about duplicate map keys, there is an application view on what actually is duplicate that influences the CBOR validity chain, which is a bit weird. So yeah, terminology is not easy there. And then of course there is the set of expected inputs that the application wants. You could call this valid or expected. So I would really love to get good terms. Well-formed and valid, of course, are stolen from XML, which were which they were invented for, and nobody really has done this serialization format valid versus application valid thing yet. So we may have to invent a term here or use these hyphenated things. I'm not sure. So if you have any ideas on how to call these things, that would be really useful. So maybe I should send out a short message about that and promise a beer to the winning proposal.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay, and then of course we still have this term strict, which is actually used to talk about two different things. One is validity checking, and the other one is enforcing preferred encoding. And we have to separate these two forms of strict, which I call strict 1 and strict 2 on this slide set, but of course we need better terms for that, and strict probably is not a very good term anyway. Yeah, so once these terms are out there, I think it's pretty straightforward to actually doing the editorial work. I'm sure when we go to map validity, we will have some more discussions about that, handling duplicate keys and all that. But I think generally this should be straightforward to do. So one other terminology issue, we are often talking about data items, and sometimes these are about model level data items, and sometimes these are about encoded data items. And we are doing this 146 times in the document. So we need a little bit of economy of terminology here. Talking about encoded data items each time, that's a bit long. So if we want to split these two terms, model level data items and encoded data items, then we probably don't want to have 3-word or 5-word terms for that.
Is it worth it to just go to TLA for encoded data item?
EDI, yeah, that's a great TLA.
Well, I might use something slightly different than that. But
Yeah, I'm pretty happy that we have avoided TLAs mostly in the CBOR document. So if we can find another term that is of the same kind as item, and it's not object because that means something in JSON and so on, maybe we can use that.
I'm checking synonyms, but there's unit, but that's not really component, element.
I think item is one of the few short terms here. Thing might be good, but that means something different.
What?
Thing.
Thing. Yeah.
That's not so useful. Yeah, object is taken, element is taken. Yeah, okay, maybe we can't avoid a 3-letter acronym. Yeah. Okay, so these are two major terminology things that go through the entire text and change it. So I would be happy to do these in one piece, like we did with the tag terminology. Then we have the whole issue of what kind of advice we give to designers of CBOR-based protocols. And there are a number of issues there, some of which are really hints for good practice. And I'm not so sure how far we actually want to go there. So the small integers as map keys, that's certainly something that should be said, but maybe we actually have too much text for that at the moment. And then on the other hand, we have things like error handling or handling of unusual cases like unknown tags and simple values. And Lawrence brought up this whole thing about using tags in an unwrapped way. So you just use the tag definition, but take the fact that this data type definition is in effect from the context and not from a physical tag. So I wrote some text on the mailing list, but that text is still very raw. Yeah, if you have any opinion on that, I would love to hear that.
How much sense would it make to pull all of this out and put it into a BCP?
A lot of sense, because that BCP could actually change over time.
Yeah, I mean that's part of why I was thinking about it is if that's an updatable document.
Yeah, but then some security considerations probably need to be in the main document.
Right, but things like 68, 67,
Yeah.
and the unwrapped unwrapped tags versus wrapped tags all seem to be more a BCP sort of thing.
Yep.
Why don't we put that out on the mailing list as a suggestion for handling some of this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
See what sort of reaction we get.
Yeah. Okay, the tag processing model, Peter Oxfield, I have no idea how to say his last name, pointed out that we have these weird tags 25 and 29 that really need to be processed during decoding. Yeah, that also could go into the BCP, but on the other hand, it's a little bit a part of the architecture whether tags should be doing that or not. And I think the agreement is that they normally should not be doing this, but that it's not completely disallowed either. How to handle unsupported tags, that's again part of the processing model, that certainly could go into the BCP as well. And then the whole strictness in the strict nonsense of handling tags, the structural versus semantic validity model. I'm not sure this can be entirely on the BCP side, because at some point we need to say what the validity of tags is about. And then there is one really interesting question that hasn't been formulated into an issue yet. Which of the tags should not be used for discriminators? So to give you an example here, JavaScript, recent versions of JavaScript now have big ints. And in JavaScript, big ints are a completely separate universe from other numbers. And that, of course, means when you're serializing JavaScript, you want these big ints to be different from everything else. And one idea one might have is say, oh, we have these tags 2 and 3 for big nums. Why don't we use them for big ints only? And the problem, of course, is that other implementations freely convert between their internal number formats and classic integers and big nums and so on. So they really don't make that distinction. Big num is a bad tag to use as a discriminator in this sense. And I think we need to say something about that. In particular for big nums, because it's coming up now. But maybe also for other things like big floats or even for typed arrays, it might be useful to say something about that.
It seems to me that 92, a good place to put that is in the expert review instructions.
Can you say that again?
A good place to put issue 92 would be in the expert review instructions.
Good point. Yes.
Yeah. I'd have to think about 90.
Yeah, I think the basic idea here is the right one. We don't want to have a single strict mode, but we want to talk about ways of handling validity in tags. And to be able to do that, we need to be able to, first of all, talk about structural versus semantic validity, but there may be other things that you want of your generic decoder that are worth discussing here. So what do we note down here? Yeah, and the whole preferred deterministic versus the other strict thing still needs some editorial cleanup. I think this is mostly about removing duplication between preferred and deterministic. But I think that's also straightforward. It just needs to be done. And finally, there's of course a whole set of issues about floating point numbers. And I'm not sure that anybody else on this call cares about floating point numbers. So one issue is the signaling nans, the numbers that you can put on the wire, and which are really little booby traps, because when you get the receiver to put them into your into their data structure, at some point later in the processing, they will want to apply floating point operations on these, and then they get exceptions there. And that's about 100 times worse than the clamped integer array booby trap that we discussed. So maybe it's worth pointing this out somewhere. And I think that's confounded a little bit by the fact that signaling nans are a great idea of IEEE 754 that unfortunately never was used very much. So most people who do something with floating point numbers never have seen a signaling NAND, and probably also don't really need to interchange that. So this is a little bit conflicted between the one objective to be able to use all of IEEE 754, because people are using all of 754, and the other objective to keep it simple enough for most people who just want to encode a floating point number without becoming a floating point expert. And for those, we have the proposal to just use one quiet man. And there's actually text in there that says you should always use this one quiet man. But that's of course nonsense if you actually want to use more of the IEEE 754 functionality like NAND payloads and SNANs and all that. So we have to find a balance there. And I think that the problem really is not that many people have had interoperability problems in this space yet. So even after 5 years, it mostly has worked because people never really needed any more than that one quiet band.
To me, that is sounding like the core document should say should on the QNAN, and the BCP should talk about cases where that's not true. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Having a BCP document helps us spot some of these issues.
But we probably want to have a short sentence in the core document that qualifies that should, because otherwise we get it back from ISG. But the expansion of that short sentence, that could be in the discipline. Yeah, and then we have this JSON to CBOR issue. So when you write a JSON to CBOR converter, when do you stop recognize something as an integer? And I think we want to go to the power of 53 as the default threshold here. Right now it says 32 or 64, and 64 doesn't make a lot of sense, and 32 is kind of outdated at this point. So there also was an interesting discussion of the related issue on the JSON mailing list, where one guy is trying to define a schema language, and his question was, what data types do we need? And unfortunately, there is no int 54 data type in C. So
Yeah, I was just going to mention that as having been something that doesn't look like it's ever going to resolve itself well.
yeah, but I think as a default threshold, it's only a recommendation anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what I'd say is go ahead and put this in here, and if we want to put more expansive stuff, we can put more expansive stuff in the BCP about it. This is something I don't know that we're going to see a whole lot.
Well, everybody and their brother is writing a JSON to CBOR converter, so that specific thing would really benefit from having a default way of doing it.
Right, but it's actually the other way around, which is CBOR to JSON is the problem. Oh, I see. No. You're just because the decision is when to use int and when to use float.
Yeah, so this is the fish sticks aquarium case. Yeah, the other one is pretty easy. But we are trying to find structure where currently there is none.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that, I mean, this whole thing is actually not JSON, it's JavaScript.
Yes, but it's also JSON.
I know. Would it make more sense? I think the recommendation needs to go in, but would it make more sense to talk about the recommendation as being iJSON rather than JSON?
Yeah, so do we have a name for the JSON that is not adjacent?
No, I don't think so.
So as long as we talk about a default, I think iJSON is kind of the default.
Yes.
Okay, that's all the slides I had. Now we only have to find time to actually work all these issues. But we have a few things we can take to the mailing list. And I think we can still make a couple of more steps forward closing issues, but we may not be all done before I go on vacation.
Okay. That sounds good. Can Paul take care of some stuff while you're gone or not?
Yeah, we have this interesting way of working where we really try to do a four eyes policy. So Paul can do some things, but I think we really want both of us to be present before making some real progress.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think we have this four eyes policy has gone very well, both in the development of 7049 and in the CBOR activity. So I think we should stick with that.
Okay. Yeah. So next meeting is cancelled unless someone screams now. I expect next meeting to be cancelled. So we will meet again in 4 weeks. And hopefully by then we have a new version,
Right.
right? Or not a new version, but yeah, an update or pull request.
Maybe we have a dash
Yes, yeah. But we don't expect an update before you go for vacation. Then that will be unrealistic, I guess.
What is
Okay.
unreal?
To expect an update before you go on vacation.
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
coming back from the internet draft deadline for Singapore, that's on November 4th. So the Singapore meeting is pretty late in the year.
November, yeah.
So we do have a little bit more space, but of course it doesn't really make sense to send out draft for working group last call on the internet draft deadline. So we probably want to do at least 2 weeks before that.
Yeah, definitely.
So the 23rd of October is the last interim before the cutoff date.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that would also be the last, if you want to have the working plus scope before the cutoff, 23rd would work. I think. Jim, when is it that you're gonna be gone or not available much?
It's a random availability all the way through October.
Okay.
I mean, I'll have some time. I mean, I'll definitely make the calls. I'll have time to do some stuff, but
Yeah. Starting
I
in
can never be
October,
sure.
you think, or could it be in
starting
September?
October. It's probably starts in September, but
Okay.
it starts when the grapes start coming in.
Yeah, I don't know when the grapes start coming in. So.
Yeah, I don't either. So.
Okay. When you do, please let me know. So.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say like next meeting will be 25th of September, and hopefully we can progress and discuss what's the status of CBOR by then. And I assume we will have more update on the array tags as well with the ISG review.
Okay.
Sounds good.
1 minute early.
1 minute. Impressive.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.